Welcome to the Psychology World podcast. I'm Connor Whiteley, bringing you psychology news, articles, and other interesting psychology-related articles. Where I can find the podcast notes and more interesting psychology-related things, and you can get your free 8 psychology book box set at connorwhiteley.net. Now let's get on to the show. Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 81 of the Psychology World podcast with me, Connor Whiteley, and today's episode is on the timeless space in psychology, and it is Friday the 26th of March 2021 as I record this. This is a brilliant episode that at first I was thinking, right, do I really want to go back to basics? But I'm so glad that I did, because this episode is actually really interesting because it gets into some debates that I didn't even know existed, and you definitely get my thoughts and feelings on these, quite pointless debates. Yeah, but I explain that a lot more in the content part of today's episode, so hopefully you will really enjoy this. Also though, I wanted to say that, episode 81, that is absolutely brilliant, because we're only 19 episodes away from episode 100, which I'm really looking forward to doing that. So as always, thank you so much for listening. So moving on to the psychology news section, we're reading from the British Psychological Society Research Digest. So the first one is, taking lecture notes on a laptop might not be that bad after all, because let's face it, at university, the lecturers sort of always said it is sort of best if you do pen and paper over a laptop. But let's see what the psychology says. So, open quote, "The pen is mightier than the keyboard," close quote. In other words, it's better to take lecture notes with a pen and paper than a laptop. That was the hugely influential conclusion of a paper published in 2014, which received extensive attention in the media and amongst academics. The findings also often featured in discussions amongst educators and whether or not to ban laptops from classrooms. However, when the researchers recently ran a replication of that original study, their findings told a different story, and it's one that the team's additional meta-analysis of other directly comparable replications supported. When later quizzed on the content of a talk, participants who'd taken notes with a pen and paper did not do better than those who used a laptop. So this is actually quite funny, because I just recorded the content part and I actually mentioned this, but this I think is brilliant. Or I think this is really important, because it's always good to replicate results and check our assumptions, just so that we know that we are making reliable results, we are making reliable research, and most importantly, though, the practical applications are correct, though, because let's face it, if the application of this research, though, was that educators were going to ban laptops, but then that would have had some quite negative consequences for certain students who did do better when they used the laptops. This I think is really interesting, though, and it just shows that we do need to replicate research, though, and it also shows that laptops aren't as bad. So if you're a university student and using a laptop works, then keep using it. Personally, I use pen and paper, but anyway, though. So the next one is, the experience of being tolerated rather than accepted leads to lower well-being amongst ethnic minority groups. Tolerance is often rooted as a progressive value, a way of ensuring that society offers equal opportunities to all, but it can also imply putting up with something or someone you fundamentally disagree with or dislike. Being tolerated isn't the same as being genuinely valued or respected. For example, as one writer puts it, tolerance has echoes of open quotes, of at best, grudging acceptance, and at worst, ill-disguised hostility, close a quote. Now, a new study has found that the experience of being tolerated takes its toll on the well-being of ethnic minorities in the United States. The research shows that the experience of being tolerated is closer to discrimination than it is to acceptance, impacting overall well-being and increasing negative moods. So this I completely understand, and also really I agree with, though, because it's not enough just to tolerate people, because when we use the term tolerate, chances are we're talking about someone who we do not like, and we're just tolerating them until they go away, and if you can't tell, I'm definitely talking from personal experience. I've definitely had to tolerate some people, though. But the important thing here, though, yes, is that it's really important that we don't just tolerate ethnic minorities, or we don't just tolerate out groups, though. And the entire point, though, is that we do accept these groups, though, because yes, they're different, but it's really important that we do learn to accept people and also value these out groups. Okay, so we will do one more. Some autistic children may experience less variation in their bodily emotional responses. So, research into emotional processing in autistic people has mainly focused on how they understand each other's emotions. A more limited body of work into how autistic people process their own emotions has, however, suggested difficulties identifying and describing emotional experiences and distinguishing them between emotional states. Oh, okay. Well, I think I'm just supporting this research right now because I had no idea there was such a difference. Okay, well, I've just supported this research even more. Okay, so so going back to the article. So the latter is a potentially important as it is associated with negative outcomes such as anxiety, depression, and self-injurious behaviour. All of this has been suggested to occur more frequently in autism than the general population. So far, studies of emotional differentiation in autism has led to language-based tasks. But now researchers have reported that the first study looking at how autistic children map out how they feel in their body, the team finds that compared to non-autistic children, the bodily responses map of autistic children are more similar across different emotions, suggesting less variability in the way they physically experience different emotional states. Okay, this is this is a really true article. Wow, I'm really impressed. But I don't know why. I just don't know why I'm impressed. Okay, well, basically though, I think this is a really important one that I can really agree with, and yeah, it's just hard. Yeah, there's actually not a lot I can say on this one, except I've actually learned quite a lot about this one because I had no idea that there was such a range of bodily experiences. And I had no idea there was a difference between emotional experiences and emotional states. I hope that you found the psychology news section as interesting as I have. So let's move on to the personal update. So we're moving on to the personal update. So this week has been quite busy with various university things, and I've had some great writing results. So, but I know this isn't a podcast provider, so I'm not going to go on about it. But except I will just hint at something. If you're interested in abnormal psychology or clinical psychology, I really recommend you check out Abnormal Psychology 3rd edition because it's proven to be quite popular. So in case you want to find out what all of the hype is, definitely check it out. Then that's available in all of the usual places. Yes, the only interesting or relevant thing though that I want to mention this week is that the new forensic psychology books they're now available on pre-order. And a massive thank you for all the people who have already pre-ordered it. I was actually quite amazed because I literally put them up, and then I checked the next day, and it turns out that I've already had quite a few pre-orders. So the forensic psychology of theft, burglary, and property crime that will come out on Monday, the 7th of June 2021, and then on the 14th of June, you can get the criminal profiling book, which I love that book. Honestly, love it. It's a brilliant book, and I just cannot recommend it enough. And then on the 21st of June, that's when the forensic psychology collection comes out, which contains forensic psychology, the theft book that I just mentioned in property crime, and the criminal profiling book. Really recommend that a box set. Right, and all of those books they're available to pre-order on all major retailers, and also you can pre-order paperbacks from Amazon or your local bookstore. But aside from that, this week there's actually been not a lot going on because it's mainly revising for exams and everything though, and I've also been doing a tons of other little bits of writing though. So as always, I always love to know your thoughts and feelings on today's episode. So you can always email me, connorwhiteley@connorwhiteley.net. You can always leave a comment on the show notes at connorwhiteley.net. And you can always tweet me on Twitter at sci-fi whiteley. I love to hear from you. And this episode has been sponsored by my free ebook, What is a Psychology? So this is a great free ebook that I really recommend because it gives you a great overview of psychology, what is a psychology, and this is really quite a basic book that really brings you down to what is a psychology and all the different areas that it covers. For example, it contains extracts from my forensic psychology book, my social psychology book, biological. Basically, though, it looks at 10 different areas of psychology in addition to all the foundation stuff and all of the different psychology approaches. So if you're new to psychology or if you just want to check out my writing, then I cannot recommend What is a Psychology book enough. So it's a free ebook available from all major ebook retailers, and you can order the paperback and the hardback version from Amazon or your local bookstore, or you can get the ebook and the paperback and the hardback for free at your local library if you request it. So that's enough of the personal update. Let's move on to the content part of today's episode. So we've moved on to the content part of today's episode. So we're going to be talking about the debates in psychology. So I really thought they'd be quite a good idea to go back to basics, and I think these debates in psychology are pretty much as basic as you can get, and they're also quite interesting, even though I sort of feel like these debates are absolutely pointless because either side of the argument is correct to varying degrees. So this would definitely be like a short episode today, but I hope that it's really useful to you and you find it interesting. So the first one is nature versus nurture. I honestly hate this argument. I think it's the most pointless psychology argument ever to be created because it is so outdated since behaviours are a mixture of genetic and environmental factors. So yes, like this outdated psychology argument looks at if a behaviour is determined by genetic or biological factors or environmental factors only, which I think is so outdated because as I've already said, all behaviours are a mixture of both genetic and environmental factors. So the thing that we're still debating about this is absolutely pointless. But nowadays, this argument more looks at which factors contribute more to behaviour. And again, though, this depends per behaviour. And if you want to find out more about this, then I would definitely recommend checking out Biological Psychology 3rd edition, because it does go into this to some extent. So another classic argument is materialism versus constructivism. And this, I had no idea what this was before. So this next psychology debate takes a slightly different approach to the nature-nurture debate, because this looks at whether behaviour has a material basis or a construction basis. So like people who believe in materialism believe that all behaviour is down to physical material, like the brain, and it's these physical materials that are cause of the behaviour. And some materialists, which I think is a great term, believe that all behaviour is just down to neural activity, which again though, some behaviour is, some behaviour isn't. Whereas the constructionists believe that human behaviour is caused by environmental factors only. And again, this is the really annoying thing, and I'm going to be saying this, and I feel like I'm saying this quite a lot today. Both of these are correct though, because for example, if we take romantic feelings of love, that is materialism, because it's the release of like dopamine, which is secreted by the brain. Yes, like to some extent, like materialism is a correct in that case. But then if you take a pro-social behaviour, for example, that could arguably be mainly constructionist, because it is mainly down to environmental factors, which I think is one of the best things about these debates, is that you can't say one is correct than the other, because there's so much support and there's so much unsupporting evidence for both of these. Okay, so the last one is consistency versus change across development. So this last psychology debate is a developmental psychology one, because some people believe that skills, personalities and abilities are developed by late childhood and they're fixed for the rest of your life, whilst other people believe that personality, skills and our abilities, they change throughout the human lifespan. And the answer to this is it really does depend on what you're actually looking for, because some personality traits, they are pretty fixed throughout the lifetime, but other personality traits, they really aren't. And then it also comes to our skill and abilities, because some skills and some abilities you can learn and you can teach in later life. For example, I don't know, like job ones, but then when it comes to skills that have a critical period, for example, speech, that one is fixed. So I don't know, it's just, again though, this is all so complicated though, but if you did want to look at this, then I do recommend the Elemental Psychology 3rd edition, and if you're listening to this in the future, my Personality Psychology book, that should be out September 2021. To conclude in all of this, as I've already said, these debates are quite pointless because all of these arguments are correct. But psychology is a science, and everyone in psychology, including you, will work to develop ideas, theories or concepts, or to be honest, we tend to implement them. Regardless if you're a psychology student implementing these ideas in your essays or your assignments, or if you're actually like a psychologist working to implement business psychology, clinical psychology, etc. ideas. And all of these ideas, concepts and theories, they help us to explain behaviour, which is the most important thing though. This is the important thing that I think gets missed quite a lot. None of these theories exist by themselves. They all interact with one another to varying degrees, in addition to the situational and biological influences that do influence these theories. So, if anyone tells you that a particular argument or even themselves has all the answers, they're really wrong. I'm sorry, they're just wrong. There's no polite way to say it. Because let's face it, human behaviour is really complex, and we need to understand that our understanding of behaviour is rooted in a very broad set of assumptions, and even some of these are up for debate though, because it's like in the psychology news section, I constantly mention research that has sort of questions our previous assumptions about how something works. So it's just like something to think about. And I think this has been definitely quite a thought-provoking episode, so I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you know someone who would enjoy today's episode, then please tell them about it. I'm always really grateful when you wonderful people spread the word about the podcast. Also, please check out What is a Psychology. It's a free ebook on all major ebook retailers, and you can get the hardback and the paperback versions from Amazon or your local bookstore. So have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for listening today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see the show notes, then please go to connorwhiteley.net. And if you want a free 8-book psychology box set, then please go to connorwhiteley.net. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.